Some people never ruin their lives with failure. They ruin them with imagination, not because they're lazy, not because they lack talent, but because dreaming about greatness became more comforting than becoming great. And once you see this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. The friend who talks about starting a business every year, the artist with endless ideas but no finished work, the person constantly preparing for a future that never arrives. At first, they seem ambitious, visionary even. But then something strange happens. Years pass, nothing changes. And that's where the real question begins. How can someone want something so badly and still do absolutely nothing? The answer is darker than most people realize. Because the human brain has a dangerous flaw. In 2011, psychologist Gabriele Oettingen discovered something disturbing while studying positive fantasizing. People who vividly imagined success were often less likely to achieve it. Why? Because the brain partially rewards fantasy as if the achievement already happened. Dopamine rises. The mind feels progress without action. In one study, students who fantasized about getting high grades actually studied less over time. The dream relaxed them before reality demanded effort. That's the trap. Some people become emotionally addicted to their future selves. Not the work, but the fantasy. And the bigger the dream becomes, the easier it is to hide inside it. I'm going to change the world. I'll become legendary. Sounds inspiring. But psychologically, massive dreams can become perfect hiding places. Because huge ambitions are impossible to measure today. So action can always wait until tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes years. This is why so many people stay trapped in preparation mode, researching, planning, watching motivational videos, reinventing themselves every few months and not progressing. Just orbiting around the idea of becoming someone. And modern life makes this even worse. In the 1960s, philosopher Guy Debord warned that society was becoming a spectacle. A world where people perform their lives instead of living them. That prediction feels terrifyingly accurate now. You can dress successful, talk successful, brand yourself as a future millionaire, creator, entrepreneur, and never build anything real. Because signaling ambition became easier than pursuing it. But this isn't the worst part. The worst part is what happens internally. Over time, people split into two selves, the real self and the imagined self. Psychologist Carl Rogers called this incongruence, the painful gap between who you are and who you believe you should be. The imagined self is extraordinary, disciplined, admired. The real self knows the truth, knows the procrastination, the fear, the inconsistency, and the larger that gap becomes, the more painful reality feels. So instead of acting, people retreat deeper into fantasy. Because fantasy is safe. Fantasy has no rejection, no humiliation, no proof that maybe they're not as special as they hoped. And this is the part nobody wants to admit. Many people don't fear failure. They fear finding out who they really are. Because the moment you genuinely try, the fantasy version of you goes on trial. Ralph Ellison wrote one of the most celebrated novels in American history, then spent 40 years trying to write the second one. He talked about it, gave interviews about it, left behind thousands of pages of fragments when he died. But no finished book. Because the closer you get to greatness, the more terrifying it becomes. To prove you were never that great to begin with. And that's the terrifying irony. The people trapped in fantasy are often highly imaginative, highly intelligent. They can see possibilities others can't. That isn't weakness, it's power. But imagination can do two things. It can help you escape reality, or help you create a new one. And the difference between those two lives comes down to a brutal decision. Destroy the fantasy, or remain trapped inside it forever. Because reality is ugly in the beginning. The first attempt is embarrassing. The first creation is mediocre. The first step feels painfully small, but reality has something fantasy never will. Momentum. And maybe that's the real tragedy of human life. Not that people dream too big, but that so many die protecting a version of themselves that never existed.